Full-time jobs come with benefits. Here's what you get for working at Gibson for 20 years. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Surprise, surprise, you get a guitar, but I've seen many of these pop up over the years, and typically it's built to their own specs. For example, tonight we're looking at an employee that worked there for 27 years in the mill room at the Gibson factory. So it's very possible he got to hold back some very premium and select lumber. So let's go ahead and dive into this. I would classify this one more of a light burst. You have a slight ambering over here with a very bright center. But in case you haven't noticed it already, it's such a beautiful quilted top. Maybe not the absolute craziest we've ever seen, but that's the thing about quilt tops. The heavier veined it is, the less it moves in the light. This looks like a very active and moving top. But next up we have some sort of a modified high performance knob with a mother of pearl insert at the top. But the next thing to pay attention to is our bridge. This is Gibson USA Nashville style. Most of these employee guitars do seem to come out of Nashville. Maybe custom shop gets something different, but keep that in mind for later. But he outfitted this one with gold pickups and otherwise golden hardware, including our screws around them. And then check it out, no poker chip, but we've got a metal switch tip. But pay close attention to the binding that we have here. It looks like it's your regular 7-ply for a custom. In fact, here's probably the best area to count that. But if we come up to the fretboard, we've got standard inlays, the trapezoids, and from here, it looks like they might actually be mother of pearl. But note, we do not have any fret nibs. Interesting choice, similar to what they do on the modern collection. So at first, this kind of just looks like a Supreme. So let's see, anything fancy with our headstock? Regrettably, we only have 3 photos to work off of, but it looks like we get a matching brass truss rod cover with the golden tuners and just the regular custom emblem. But knowing that this was Gibson USA produced, this does slightly look like the acrylic material that they would typically put on guitars that happen to be USA versus the custom shop. However, again, it's just one photo to go off of here. It could be pearl. And if you're like, hey, Trogly, are you even sure this is a Gibson? Is it a troll post? Well, there is this photo. We can zoom in and just barely see the Gibson logo. Everything looks straight to me. But you know what? I was just thinking this was a regular Gibson USA case, but no, it's stylized after the old Supremes because it has one right there and an additional ribbon right there to protect your hinge. And then look closely at the style of handle they use. I love those because they're bracketed onto the case. The odds of that breaking is a lot less, and these are very nice padded handles. And oh my goodness, this is why I love making the videos, because sometimes you notice something while recording that you missed before. Look right here. It appears to have his name engraved in the pickup cover, and if you go up here, it looks like it might say 20th anniversary. That is really cool for him. And I was suspicious of this. Do you guys think that's a rosewood fretboard, or is it just particularly streaky ebony? I'm not entirely sure, but I do believe this photo angle confirms real mother of pearl inlays, for a fretboard at least. But on top of that, just look at the figuring in this lighting, as well as viewing angle. You can just tell that thing's gonna be gorgeous. But my friends, if that's all this was, probably wouldn't get its own episode. It's nice and unique, but it's the back. Holy cow, he had some fun here. Let us take a second to dissect this. We were already suspicious that this was some sort of a Supreme. And sure enough, it looks like an original style Supreme because that body looks thicker than usual. So this will be a chambered out Les Paul. And even though we can't 100% verify it from this photo, usually those have a carved back to them. So if you don't understand what I'm saying, here's a nice side-by-side comparison of an original Supreme to a normal Les Paul. The back is just like the top. It has a carving to it. It's not completely flat. It makes them completely different beasts from the new Supremes that we have. And not everybody loves them, but they were their own unique, quirky thing. And the reason why a lot of times the 20th anniversary guitars that do show up to the public happen to be Supremes, it's because those were the most expensive Gibson USA thing that they could choose from. I like our boat wave pattern. It reminds me of one of my 125th anniversary Les Paul Supremes that we've documented in the past. But the real fun here actually begins on our neck. At first glance, you just might be like, hey, Trogly, it's your usual 5-piece maple neck. 3 pieces maple, 2 pieces of walnut. Why is that so special? That's because that's not what this is. This is a 9-piece neck. I have never seen that before on a Les Paul. And the reasoning behind that is for most of his time there, he was responsible for the millwork of Firebirds and Thunderbirds. You know, the whole 9-ply neck-through construction guitars. So he wanted this guitar to reflect his work. And my goodness, is that just fantastic or what? Then of course on the outside pieces he added figured maple, so that means this is probably a solid maple as well. You can see a little bit of flame figuring, but it has that light bursted color, so it doesn't bring out the flame quite as much. But that means you're going to have walnut, mahogany, walnut, before your maple, and then the whole walnut mahogany again before the outside pieces. That's a lot of fun. As a one-off piece, do I think it looks better than the regular 5-piece neck? I would probably still opt for the regular look because I like the look of the thin lines. However, again, as a one-off piece, I think it matches the vibes beautifully. And reading through this Reddit thread a little bit more, this kind of helps confirm what I was telling you earlier, why most of them end up being Supremes. You got to choose an existing model, but they let you choose your own wood and electronics and color. And apparently these are presented at a plant meeting every month. I feel Gibson's dropping the ball, not posting those things, not letting us be privy to all those cool guitars. But here's another one from about a year ago that the CEO of Gibson said, hey, that caught my attention, let's share it on my page. I remember when I first logged on and saw this photo, I was like, oh my goodness, they're doing black bound Supremes and they're gonna do this really exotic, almost spalty-like plain maple top. Yes, sign me up. I think that looks great. Until I read our caption over here, it's for Michelle over at Gibson. So at first glance, you might just think, okay, exotic top, utilize the black binding. What is so special about that? It's more so this photo. It continues the use of predominant black binding, but then gets the white, black layer. So you get 5, but having the black layer be prominent just changes the entire appearance of the guitar. A really good example of a guitar that does this and does it well is the Moonless Night Les Paul Custom from late 2017 into 2018. It has the same thing going on up here on the headstock, so you can see how it would look with finish over top of it. Now that particular release utilized a diamond on the headstock, but it's always been a look that looks cool to me. But it doesn't always pull off on every single color, but something that's complete jet black ebony, it allows those thin white layers to really pop, including your inlay work. But the other thing that made me jump out of my seat is, remember, at the time of posting, this was about 1 year of the new Les Paul Supreme, which is basically just a Les Paul Modern, but souped up with the Super 400 inlays, really nice tops, and they utilized this new chandelier headstock logo. They did not utilize a carved back, but they gave them fancy electronics in exchange, as well as a swept heel. But look closely at that headstock. Yeah, it's the old Supreme logo, just without the writing within the pearl. It's got the brass, the abalone, and the globe. I thought we were actually going to see regular Supremes come back, but no, it was just a special. You can see a few other guys were getting excited over in the comments too. But unfortunately, I never saw this guitar get finished. So Michelle, if you're out there, I'd love to see it, and I'd be real curious if it has the carved back or not. I mean, from this photo, I don't think so, but you just never know. Because I do know one of the last Les Paul Supremes that was ever made is stamped like 2021, and I believe it was a 40th anniversary gift. I'm not sure if there's a time that you get a guitar at the 30th, but I do know 20 and 40, those are your big milestones at Gibson. But as a consolation prize of what it could potentially look like, here's Steve P's custom made-to-measure R9 Les Paul. I can confidently say, I don't think I've seen a bird's eye top on a Les Paul look exactly like this. Bird's eye is one of those things where you either love it or you hate it, and this one, I'm not going to say it's my favorite, but I do like how unique it is. It has its own characteristics, and for that, I think this is a complete win. But I've never seen these dark circles on a bird's eye top before, and even the regular bird's eyes that we're seeing, they're not tight, they're very large. But it's still a 2-piece center seam top. Looks like it came stock with Schaller strap locks, utilized black plastics rather than the historically spec'd cream. It brings out the darkness, and hey, did you notice this also has the black binding like our other one? According to its owner, it was equipped with a real Brazilian rosewood fretboard, and it's got a black stinger on the back. But unfortunately, there were only 2 photos on this old Facebook post that I found. So, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed taking a look at these employee anniversary gifts. If you know of any more and have photos, feel free to send them my way. Maybe we'll do a part 2 one day. But until then, we'll catch you guys tomorrow on the next one. Take care.